What's going on? I'm Quincy Avery, and you're listening to the Cleats Off podcast with Liz Bhandari.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cleats Off podcast. I'm your host Liz Bhandari and this is a show that brings you closer to the game you love. Today's guest is the legendary quarterback trainer Quincy Avery. Now Coach Avery is the guru behind the QB Takeover, which is America's elite quarterback training program. It's designed to give young athletes the mental toughness needed to lead a team, the skills necessary to execute, and the mindset to make the right calls when the game is on the line. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the show, Quincy. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm really well, thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, so thank you so much for taking the time. Now, you are the developmental mastermind behind the QB Takeover. Talk me through the journey that it took for you to get to this moment.
Yeah, I had an interesting journey. I'm the son of a football coach, but so I got done playing college football. I went out to UCLA and I basically begged for a job. And when I say that, I sat on the couch for 3 days, and third day, I finally got a chance to talk to the head coach, who was Rick Neuheisel at the time. He agreed to let me volunteer there, so I volunteered there, coached there for 2 years, and now I was moving my way up. I decided that I wanted to take a different journey, and that was to be in the private coaching sector. So I got my car, packed everything up, moved to Atlanta, started reaching out to kids incessantly, and finally got one in Joshua Dobbs, who's now quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Deshaun Watson came shortly after that. And it just slowly started building momentum and just being consistent and just doing the things right over and over again, built into something really special. And now I have the biggest quarterback training company in the States.
Which is incredible. And from what I've read, it's not always been easy. You've talked about how you spent a couple of years living in a locker room or living in your car. Having experienced that, what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned about yourself?
Yeah, so in the 2 years at UCLA, I was living in the locker room. In the first 2 years that I got to Atlanta, I was living out of my car, getting started training. But I learned that like happiness isn't directly tied to money. It's more tied to doing the things that you want to do, and really enjoying the journey and the process, and also being committed to being committed to the things you say. So if you say you want to do X, Y, Z, then you need to do everything in your power to do X, Y, Z. It really makes me annoyed or irritated when people say they want to do things and their actions and their words are not congruent. So that's the biggest takeaway for me during that period of time.
Yeah, I mean, actions speak louder than words. We're all taught that from an early age, I think. Now, everyone in life has a goal, and more often than not, these hurdles that can push that dream back or even make you feel like what you set out isn't achievable. When you faced those moments yourself, how did you keep yourself together and, I guess, keep on track?
Yeah, I mean, like anybody, I faced a lot of those obstacles. I don't know, just the way that I was raised. It was really instilled in me, like you're just gonna go through tough things, and you got to be okay with going through those things if you want something. Like I could have easily quit and taken a job or done a bunch of different other things. I could have got back into like traditional coaching, but that just wasn't the thing for me. I just knew what I was passionate about. I don't see obstacles in the same way as a lot of other people. It's just like a couple no's or a couple hard times, or just a setup for something bigger and the thing that you're looking forward to getting.
It's such a good mindset to have. It's so difficult for people to think sometimes, isn't it? So, no, I think it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult for people to think. It's difficult for the guys that I work with, quarterbacks, to have. It's like the same way that I have this mindset, I want them to have that same mindset when they enter a game. It's like one play at a time. And when something bad happens, because it undoubtedly will, you just got to push through that thing and keep working to the thing that you want, which is a victory at the end of the day, And then you find it in terms of getting your next completion and then the next series. And that builds up to a quarter, to a half, to a game. So it's just doing things over and over again the right way.
That's such good advice, and I can see why you're in demand with your players. Speaking of which, now you've set the course for many of the game's best quarterbacks. What have been some of the fundamental changes that you've seen in your players, and who do you think you've seen the biggest changes happen within?
So when I'm working with guys, the thing that I want to build them is from the ground up. So creating um, a great understanding of their footwork fundamentals, no matter what offense or what stylistic play caller they may have. So the things that I'm teaching are really consistent in that manner. And then also knowing that everybody's going to have their own unique style and how they throw the ball, how they move. So working with that in that framework, giving them, all right, so we absolutely must do a couple of these things, but letting them be free and creative with everything else. So that's kind of how I train. And I can't say that I've changed a bunch of guys like a huge amount just because I've worked with so many guys for such a long period of time. Like I've just seen them develop throughout it. But I mean, even in my last trip to UK, I felt like I was able to make some big strides with some guys really, really quickly, just because of the way that I teach and being able to give them those groundwork and the fundamentals to be successful.
And then speaking of which, so, for a player to be successful at a high level, what are the type of qualities that are needed, and where a player lacks, in what way can you help them reach those levels?
Physical talent, you need to be, in terms of being a quarterback, you need to be sufficient arm strength, right? Just depending on what level you are, it depends on how much arm strength you need. And then you need to be accurate. But more so than anything else, you have to have the right mindset. Like you got to understand, like, what's your process going into play, dealing with adversity and being able to push through those things. But the arm strength and accuracy component we can fix just by sharing up your fundamentals and getting you to take enough reps. Doing those things over and over again, you start to understand, like, what I need to do and how can I improve it. So everybody has something they can improve on. It's just what level we need to get to make sure you're as proficient as possible.
I think what I admire the most about you and the way that you work is that you're not just a mentor to some of these players, you're basically a big brother to them. How important is it to you to be able to hold this type of relationship?
Yeah, I have a really unique relationship with a lot of guys that I work with, and it's just because we relate in so many different ways, and I think that it's important. It's one of the things that has allowed me to be as successful as possible, and it's allowed me to mentor guys in the right way, so that they feel comfortable with me in terms of off the field things. And when you develop that level of comfort and that level of respect, saying difficult things to them about things that they're doing on the field is easy, right? It's not a hard talk when you're like, you're screwing up here, and this is what we need to do, and just being strict and firm with that, because they know that I care about them more than just on the field.
So let's talk a little bit about Deshaun Watson. So not only are you his coach, but you're a great friend of his too. And last year in the off season, you guys went on a journey kind of exploring the world. How was that? And was there a particular experience that really stood out to you?
I mean, the whole trip stood out. We went to a lot of different places, and it's crazy. We were gone for like 28 days, and yeah, the experience to go on a trip like that, trip of a lifetime with someone who's that close of a friend, it was really amazing. And I mean, of course, you become closer just being on the road together that much. I mean, we're always together in the off season. We're always traveling together, working out together, training together. But one of the coolest things that we did, I mean, we did so many cool things, but we played catch in Cairo, Egypt, near the pyramids. Like,
Wow.
who else can say that they did that? Like, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and it was cool, that experience.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And, part of that journey, you guys visit London for the International Series game at Wembley. What surprised you the most about the UK fan base?
Oh wow, the fan base is interesting. Like, everybody will just wear a jersey. It doesn't have to be the right team jersey. I thought that was really interesting. But it seemed like they really cared about the game. They're really interested in understanding how it works, and they had strong opinions on it. So I thought that was cool. I feel like it's almost really similar to how people in the United States are trying to get into soccer, right? Like the same type of like, we want to really be into it. We're enthused. We're loud. We're pumped up at the games. We don't probably know it as well as everybody else, but we're trying to get into it and learn the game. And I see that in the UK, they're learning the game, and it's enough really good athletes out there that very soon there's going to be a lot more talent coming from the UK to be playing in the NFL and the college level. And I know we've seen some guys coming over at the college level very recently.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we started, I think, the NFL Academy maybe a year and a half ago now, and I think that's kind of helping us build that talent at that level. So no, I think we're about to see more British people come through to American football in America. So I think that'd be really exciting.
Man, I hope so, because I have nothing but an amazing time when we're out there, and it's been fun just teaching the game out there to people who haven't been able to get maybe the level of coaching that they should have been able to get. And then they can speed up really, really quickly. So the more people who understand it at that level can continue to share it and spread it, and I think that the game's going to go really far out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And obviously this year there are no games in London for the first time since 2006, so that's going to be really weird for us. But, this coronavirus pandemic, it's affecting all sports. And many players in the NFL, they're choosing to sit out the season for safety reasons. And I understand that there are a lot of players at the college level considering the same. What are your thoughts on all this and how that's going to impact their career?
I just think that everybody needs to do what they feel most comfortable with so that they can be as safe as possible or feel comfortable. Like, not going to judge them or their decisions. You can see that over here in the United States, we're handling it a lot worse than everybody else across the whole globe. So when you're faced with people at the highest level who've handled it so poorly, how can you trust your colleges and institutions to handle it the right way, or your NFL teams? Like, we all have to. It's just a trickle down effect. Like, they might have the best intentions at the NFL level, the college level, but at the highest level, we've been inept. So we're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that's it. It's so strange. Like, we've done it with soccer, and the league was still going on, but there was no fans in the stadium, and that was just so weird to see, because you can hear the players on the field, and then they started pumping through like fake sounds, and it's just bizarre.
100%.
Well, listen, it's been really great to chat to you today, and thanks so much for taking the time, and I'm excited for both you, your team, and your players' future, so thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to get back, and when I do, I'll make sure I reach out so you can come check out a camp.
That'd be amazing.
All right.
Well, that's it for another episode of the Cleats Off podcast. As always, I'd love your comments and feedback, so feel free to reach out to me at NFL Girl UK across Twitter, Facebook or Instagram. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. I wouldn't want you to miss a single episode. Until next time, thanks for listening.